Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. You may be seated. Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Minister of Labour and Social Security and Member of Parliament for Clarendon South East, the Honorable Pernell Charles Jr., Mayor of Maypen, His Worship Councillor Joel Williams, other councillors, caretakers, and other political representatives here with us this afternoon, NHT Board Chairman, Mr. Longville Freeman, and other members of the NHT Board of Directors, let me acknowledge Director Merle Donaldson, the Managing Director of the National Housing Trust, Mr. Martin Miller, and the management and staff of the NHT. Our development partners, Gore Developments Limited, represented this afternoon by Managing Director Mr. Christopher Gore and General Manager Mr. Ruth Van Otti, and may I extend a welcome to the entire Gore Developments team. Managing Director of the Housing Agency of Jamaica, Mrs. Doreen Prendergast, the General Manager of the Urban Development Corporation, Mr. L. Robert Hunnigan, representatives of our state agencies, our utility providers, representatives of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, our partner mortgage institutions, and members of the business community, pastor of the Freetown Church of God of Prophecy, Bishop William B. Hutchinson, residents of Freetown, residents of Longville Park and neighboring communities, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you. And welcome to this, our groundbreaking ceremony for Longville Meadows, a housing development brought to you by the National Housing Trust and Gore Developments Limited. My name is Dwayne Burbick, and it is both an honor and a pleasure to welcome you to this momentous occasion, the groundbreaking ceremony of Longville Meadows, a development that represents more than 2,000 new housing solutions right here in the heart of Clarendon. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are not just turning soil. We are turning the page on a new chapter for thousands of Jamaicans who aspire to home ownership. And this project is a tangible demonstration of what happens when national vision meets local impact. And Clarendon is a parish known for its strong communities, its vibrant culture, and of course its contribution to the country's agricultural and industrial output. But beyond that, it is also a place where many Jamaicans want to live, want to raise families, and of course, build a sustainable future. And the NHT and Gore Development's investment here shows that housing development isn't just about building structures. It's about building sustainable communities closer to opportunities, infrastructure, and of course, hope. So thank you for being a part of this celebration, which for me is a bold step forward for housing in Jamaica and a proud moment for the people of Clarendon. At this time, let me invite Pastor of the Freetown Church of God of Prophecy, Bishop William B. Hutchinson, to lead us in a moment of prayer and invocation as we ask for a blessing upon the construction of the project and also for our future homeowners. Let's welcome Bishop Hutchinson.
It's indeed my pleasure to extend warm and special greetings to everyone within my view and within my hearing. I greet you well this afternoon, in the true spirit of our country, Jamaica land we love. I pay special recognition to our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Dwayne Berbick, our keynote speaker, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, MP and Prime Minister, other ministers of government, both at the general and the parish level, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am happy that we can be here today as we share in the achievement and the anticipation of the parish of Clarendon. We rejoice together as we invoke the presence of the Almighty and break ground for both residents and commercial buildings. We look forward to a great time together in this area. And I do this with two verses of scripture, which comes to us from Psalm 127, the verses 1 and 2. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep this city, the watchman waketh but in vain. It is in vain for you to rise up early and to sit up late to eat the bread of sorrow, for so he giveth his beloved sleep. We bow our heads for prayer at this time. Our Father and our great friend, we recognize you as the giver of all good and perfect gifts, and as maker of heaven and earth. We come to you today to invoke your presence on this, our new project. And we thank you for those who gave birth to this idea and have so far implemented it. I pray today, gracious God, that you will help us, that those who are going to reap the benefits of being homeowners, I present them to you. Our eyes are upon you. We look to you for safety and for protection. I pray that during this entire construction project, there'll be no accidents or incidents of any kind. And because we know it is not in man that walketh to direct his steps, but the steps of a good man are ordered by you. It is with this in mind that we come to you this afternoon and ask for your divine intervention. All those who will work on this project, let there be no confrontations, or accidents that would even halt this project. But I pray that everything will be done decently and in order, both to your will and to your glory. As I ask all these mercies and your favors, I beg, Lord, look beyond our faults this afternoon and minister to our needs as we ask it through your Son, Jesus Christ. And everybody say, at this time, with all respects, I hand over back to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hutchinson. Thank you. The NHT has been investing in Clarendon over several years with schemes like Longville Park, phases 1, 2, 3, 4, Monimusk Country Estate, and now Longville Meadows, expanding the NHT's housing footprint in this parish. And that's very important because there's a growing demand for housing, especially among young professionals who have roots in central Jamaica. And many thanks to NHT, they are now proud homeowners. To tell you a little bit about how the NHT continues to make housing more possible is our chairman, Mr. Longville Freeman. I'll invite Mr. Freeman at this time to the lectern to bring his remarks. Please, let's make him welcome.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, the Honorable Colonel Charles, Member of Parliament and Minister of Labour and Social Security, His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Joel Williams, other political representatives, Mr. Christopher Gore, Managing Director of Gore's Development, and the rest of the members of the Gore team, NHT board members, and I did see Merle here earlier, members of the management of the NHT, led by our own Mr. Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you to this groundbreaking ceremony for the Longville Meadows housing development. This is the fourth such groundbreaking ceremony that the NHT is having since the start of 2025, which shows that we are really mean business. And PM, the objective is that we are planning and focus on having at least another 4 groundbreaking ceremonies before the end of 2025. Today we break grounds for 2,077 units, bringing our year-to-date housing starts for the calendar year 2025 to just over 5,500 solutions. And based on the pipeline, we are working towards crossing the threshold of 8,000 units by the end of this year. And we are hoping to also build another 5,000 between now and the end of March 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, this project represents more than just bricks and mortar. It represents opportunity, dignity, and the hope of ownership for many Jamaican families. Today marks the beginning of yet another chapter in the NHT's mission to make home ownership possible for its contributors. Longville Meadows is not just a housing scheme, it is a future community, thoroughly designed and carefully planned to offer quality, affordable housing while promoting sustainability. Clarendon holds deep significance for the National Housing Trust. The parish is the home for the first ever housing development for the NHT, Ashley Hall in Lionel Town, which is still very much a thriving community. Almost 50 years later, we are here and we return to write a new chapter in the story of home ownership. Proof that while times have changed, the mission remains the same: to build communities, empower family, and transform lives. In pursuit of this mission, we continue to innovate, forge meaningful partnerships, and develop strategies to create more housing opportunities for our contributors. Through strategic collaboration, the NHT has been able to maximize its resources to build more houses through a set of strategic partnerships. A key example of this is the Guaranteed Purchase Program, a modified version under which Longville Meadows is being developed. The GPP, as we call it for short, enables us to partner with the private sector to accelerate housing delivery while maintaining quality and affordability. It is designed to bring houses to the market more quickly and efficiently. Our New Developers Program, which is another side to the GPP, is another avenue through which we partner with developers to build out housing development plans and land owned by the NHT. Both the programs are driven by a desire to deliver houses faster, more efficient, and to use our resources, and of course to deliver units that are more affordable than the average housing development. Speaking of affordability, as we continue to build new commitments, we're also building out comprehensive policies that reflect the realities of today to ensure that more contributors, particularly low to middle income earners, can access affordable mortgage solution. The NHT has made considerable changes to our loan limits, and you would have heard that we have moved our loan limits for a single applicant from $7.5 to now $9 million. And of course, an applicant can access up to $11 million, in terms of accessing grants to make that number where possible. The NHT also increased limits for most of the benefits, again, as you have heard, and you can always get more information on our website. I want to share a little on the additional financial support the NHT is providing through our home grant. We have raised the income band eligibility threshold, which means more individuals will be able to take advantage of this opportunity. In addition, we now extend grants under certain conditions to individuals who started their construction. We are also proud that the future residents of Longville Meadows will benefit from arrangements such as deferred and intergenerational mortgages, parent assist programs, and 100 financing options for all our schemes. Just to reiterate, NHT provides 100% financing for all NHT schemes. There are more policy changes that are deliberate responses to meet the wide base of contributors that we have, and whenever they are on the home ownership journey. I would like to thank our partner, in this instance, Gore Development Limited, for their shared vision, long-standing legacy, and continued dedication to building quality homes for Jamaicans across the island. I look forward to the modern and well-designed community that Longville Meadows is poised to become. And in my earlier discussion with Chris Gore, I told him I know of the capabilities and the reputation that Gore has for building homes. And so I don't need to enforce that. What I need to say to Gore is that, and my message is that we really need to build quickly and to ensure that soon from this date, we'll be back handing out keys to homeowners. Very, very soon. Longville is just one of the several housing initiatives rolled out across Jamaica. On that note, I'd like to commend the team led by our Managing Director, Martin, and our Senior General Manager for Construction, Brian, for the exceptional job that they have been doing in ensuring that the progress of home building by the NHT continue at a rapid rate. Events like this require a great deal of planning, and again, I'd like to commend Mrs. Ann Vidal for always going above the call of duty to ensure that this function is arranged in the manner it has been arranged. As NHT Chairman, I am incredibly proud of the progress we have made, but even more hopeful about what lies ahead. As we break grounds today, let us dig deep, not just into the soil, but into our collective potential as together we build Jamaica, not just for today, but for the generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Freeman. And thank you for those reminders today that housing requires partnership and it requires collaboration as well. And most importantly, that the NHT has various avenues and opportunities for that kind of partnership and collaboration with our developers. Ladies and gentlemen, transforming landscapes takes more than brick and mortar. It takes vision, it takes consistency, and a deep understanding of what people truly need in a home and in a community. And I dare say a few companies in Jamaica have contributed to the housing sector as extensively and as impressively as Gore Developments Limited. For decades, Gore has been a leading force in residential development, known for well-planned and affordable housing solutions across the island, one of their most recent projects being Phoenix Park in neighboring St. Catherine. Now, at the helm of this legacy is a man who understands that successful development is about more than profit, but it's about purpose as well. Please welcome to the lectern the Managing Director of Gore Developments Limited, Mr. Christopher Gore.
Thank you, Mr. Burbick. Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. My name is Christopher Gore. I'm the Managing Director of Gore Developments Limited. Joining me this afternoon at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Longville Meadows project are three members of my senior management team, whom I will briefly introduce to you. Mr. Ruth Venotti, General Manager. Mr. Israel Pinchas, Projects Manager. And Ms. Janice Wilson, Manager, Accounting Department. Some key members of our technical team of consultants, professionals for the Longville Meadows project are also represented here today at this very important groundbreaking ceremony. They are Ms. Lise Walter, Consulting Engineer for the project, Ms. Doris Gross, Architect, Director of Portico Limited, Mr. Ian Johnson, Commissioned Land Surveyor, Partner, Masters Johnson and Associates, and Ms. Leisha Ann Smith, Attorney at Law, Partners, Nunes, Schofield, Dillon and Company. Unfortunately, Mr. Philip Gore, Chairman, is not able to attend this afternoon, but sends his best wishes for a successful groundbreaking ceremony. This is a significant day for our company, for the community, and for the future of affordable housing in Jamaica. The Longville Meadows project, for which we are excitedly breaking ground today in partnership with the National Housing Trust, is in keeping with the government's invitation to private developers to increase housing stocks through the public-private partnerships to reduce the housing deficit and to provide houses in the lower income sector of the housing market. Our goal is to create affordable quality homes with the convenience of your own land space, which will appeal to NHT contributors in Clarendon and surrounding areas, as there is a critical demand for affordable housing in this area. The new development enjoys its own entrance from the Freetown Main Road, with easy access to and from Freetown, Maypen, Old Harbour, and Kingston, and its strategic and practical location will make the project successful. We are committed to providing equitable and affordable housing solutions and to creating opportunities for home ownership. In keeping with this mandate and our commitment, Gore Developments Limited has entered into a modified guaranteed purchase program agreement, otherwise known as modified GPP agreement, with the NHT to construct Longville Meadows, comprising approximately 2,064 houses, lower income and affordable housing solutions, along with all ancillary facilities and associated infrastructure, roads, utilities, meaning water, sewage, electricity, recreational facilities, with an estimated total value in excess of Jamaican $25 billion. The first phase of the project will consist of 564 standalone residential units on lands owned by Gore Developments Limited. The second phase of the project, under the modified GPP agreement, will be developed on lands currently owned by the government of Jamaica, being the NHT and the Ministry of Housing. And when constructed, it will consist of an additional 1,500 lower-income housing solutions, which will be a mix of one-bedroom and two-bedroom standalone units. All of the houses in the Longville Meadows housing development, which is the phase one, will be affordable to the NHT's lowest contributors, earners, featuring small but expandable homes of 370 to 400 square foot and lots of 2,500 square feet and larger. These are starter homes under the NHT's mortgage benefits. We believe that everyone deserves a safe, comfortable place to call home, and this development is a step towards making that dream a reality for more Jamaicans, satisfying the increasing demand for housing and ownership in the wider region of Freetown, Maypen, Old Harbour, and the surrounding environs. GDL will be responsible for the entire project from planning to handover, working in partnership with the National Housing Trust and all the relevant regulatory agencies, authorities, and the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Phase one of the housing development is approved by all the relevant approval bodies. Phase two of the housing development is projected to be fully planned and approved within 9 months. So, in the spirit of development, we move to break ground today on this project in partnership and collaboration with the NHT, Ministry of Housing, and the community, and look forward to continuing our long-established, good working relationship with the National Housing Trust on this and future projects to make your dream of home ownership a reality. Thank you to our team and to the NHT and all the other stakeholders involved in bringing this project to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gore. And I'm going to forgive my audience for not clapping at a particular point in your presentation. I know it's a little windy and the noise a little distracting, so perhaps you never heard. So I'm going to repeat it. This project is valued at $25 billion. In one project, that's not a small investment that is being made, and I do believe that is worthy of an applause this afternoon for both the NHT and Gore Developments Limited. So I'm making some notes as we go along, and I realize already that putting together a housing project, it requires planning, it requires partnership. We have that on display this afternoon. And I took from Chairman Freeman's presentation and from Mr. Gore's presentation, you realize they acknowledge their teams. It requires people as well to get these projects done. And to add to that, from the local level, every successful community development project needs what I would call a champion, a person who not only advocates on behalf of the people, but someone who is present, someone who is persistent and passionate about improving lives. You see how much peace me are going to this afternoon? And let's welcome the Clarendon Southeast Member of Parliament and Minister of Labour and Social Security at this time to give his remarks, ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Pernell Charles Jr.
Yes. A very happy Member of Parliament, you should say. And I firstly, forgive me for the dirt on my pants. I'm coming from another activity in another space in the constituency where we are trying to be like the Prime Minister in many places at one time. Let me acknowledge, of course, moderator. Thank you, Bishop, for opening for us. Our Prime Minister, welcome again to your second home. We acknowledge also Chairman and the General Manager and team from NHT. Let me acknowledge my councillor from Mineral Heights, which is the area where this activity is, Mr. Councillor Coke. Yes. Permit me also to acknowledge my councillor from the Hayes Division, who is here, Mr. Barnswell. Let me also welcome our new partner, Mayor, our new partners, the Gore team, Christopher Gore, and all of the team that is here. This is now going to become your second home. So welcome home to you. A very important project for us. And I firstly want to say, Prime Minister, not too long ago, you gave me the charge of serving as your Minister of Housing. And I must tell you, outside of course, the knowledge gained, what I came to understand is your vision and your passion for affordable housing. And the fact that you, Prime Minister, were intent and continue to be intent on creating bold ways of expanding and adjusting the NHT and creating opportunities not just for beneficiaries to be able to purchase homes, but also for developers to be able to partner, whether it is through the GPP program or creating the linkages in generations of persons to come together to be able to finance the homes. What is clear is that through you, Prime Minister, the government is committed to not just expanding the housing stock, but making sure that no Jamaican is left behind. I think that is the beauty of what we're seeing today, where we are pulling together hands and hearts to really expand into rural communities with the best and to provide opportunities for many persons who could not tap into housing elsewhere. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you also to all who have contributed to this. Yes, you can give him a round of applause. Additionally, this is part of a greater vision for Southeast Clarendon. And so we see Gore, we see NHT, we see all who will be able to benefit from and contribute to this development as being our partners. And on behalf of the entire constituency, we want to not only thank our Prime Minister, who's the Minister, the NHT, and our developers, Gore, but we want to thank the government for choosing us and for ensuring that Clarendon is not left behind. We commit to making sure that we provide you with as much support in terms of labor, in terms of whatever is needed to make this a successful project that hits its timelines. And I want to assure you that myself as Member of Parliament, and I can speak on behalf of my councillor, who is the man on the ground, that we will be completely available to ensure that this is a success from phase one throughout all of its phases. This is our largest project, and we hope that it will provide a lot of opportunity beyond just the houses or the homes for persons who live here or who are in the surrounding areas to be able to gain from this as much as we give. Let me close by just reaffirming that for us, this is our project. And we have to acknowledge that this is not coming to us by coincidence. This is a properly, strategically planned, deliberate effort to ensure that all of Jamaica gets a piece of the prosperity. And so, Prime Minister, I speak to you now not as minister, but as a proud member of Parliament, in saying on behalf of all of my constituents, Prime Minister, we here choose Jamaica. One love.
Thank you very much, Minister Charles Jr. And as we break ground this afternoon, it's only fitting that we also pause to appreciate the creative and cultural foundations that enrich our communities, especially through music. Now, Denby High School is not only known for academic excellence, but also for its vibrant and accomplished music program. The school has consistently produced talented performers who have earned recognition at both local and national levels, including the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC's Festival of the Performing Arts, where they have walked away with numerous awards for musical excellence. Today, we are pleased to welcome one such rising talent who will be blessing us with a saxophone performance that reflects both discipline and artistry. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you at this time the talented Fiona McLean. I think you can do a little better than that. And when I say what I'm about to say, I think you'll clap a little louder. Can you believe she only started playing the saxophone 2 years ago? What a talent. What an incredible talent. And she's not just talented, she's smart. She's the head girl of the Denby High School as well. Thank you very much, Ferrona, and we wish you all the very best in all your pursuits, both academically and with your music as well. Thanks very much. At this time, it is my honor to invite to the lectern a man who plays a critical leadership role in guiding the strategic vision of the NHT, especially as it relates to national development and sustainable housing delivery. He brings a steady hand and a deep commitment to ensuring that the NHT remains true to its mission, making home ownership more accessible and achievable for Jamaicans from all walks of life. Under his leadership, the Trust continues to break ground, not just physically, but in policy, innovation, and also in inclusiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker this afternoon, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness.
Thank you, Bishop Dwayne Burbick, for mastering our ceremony, and also Bishop William B. Hutchinson. Now I pause at that because I too have a Hutchinson literally in my government, J.C. Hutchinson, and when I saw the name, I was wondering if it was JC. Thank you for the invocation. The Honorable Pernell Charles Jr., Minister of Labour and Social Security and Member of Parliament for the great constituency of Clarendon Southeast. His Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Joel Williams, Mayor of Maypen, and other members of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation in attendance. Mr. Longville Freeman, Chairman of the NHT, and other members and members of the executive staff, members of the board and executive staff who are here. Mr. Colin Coke, Councillor for the Mineralites Division. Mr. Donald Moore, Technical Director, and other NHT team members. I think that's Donald. They just can't do without you, I see. No, Donald, I have to give Donald his due and his respect. You would call Donald, or you would say, no, he's like, a part of the foundation of the NHT, someone who has contributed significantly and to whom the country owes a debt of gratitude. Good to see you here, Donald. Let me acknowledge our construction partner, Gore Developments, and Mr. Chris Gore and his team. The government can't execute its construction, can't execute its housing policy without contractors. There is a notion in the minds of the public when we say that the government builds the houses, they believe that literally it's the government that builds the houses. No, the government hires contractors to do this. And so oftentimes the ability of the government to execute its policy is really dependent on the quality of the contractor, the capability of the contractor. And Gore Development has a proven track record. They have been building houses privately for themselves and the private housing market for decades. They have a brand in the market, people know them, and most importantly now, they have a reputation to defend. So I am expecting that the houses that they build for the NHT will meet and surpass the houses that they build privately for themselves and their client, both in terms of quality and time to delivery. So we welcome you as part of the NHT's contracting family. Other representatives and stakeholders who are here, allow me as well to acknowledge the wonderful performance of the head girl of the Dembe High School. You had me swaying and singing and humming. Excellent performance. It is obviously, looks like to me a hobby for you, but who knows, maybe that's where your professional career will lead. You certainly have the talent to excel and exceed in this area. Keep up the good work. Representatives of the media, and of course, members of the community and potential homeowners who are here, and to the wider audience listening to us nowadays. I can't just speak to the audience in front of me. I'm certain that there is somebody here streaming live. See what I mean? I'm certain that this is going to be broadcast, and therefore, let me say big up to the people who are following us live on TikTok, on Facebook, and Instagram, and YouTube, and all over. Thank you for joining us. Today is a big day, and like someone said a few days ago, it's a big deal. Not small fries. So it's truly a pleasure to be here in Longville Park, Clarendon, today to break ground on what will become one of the most significant housing development in the history of the National Housing Trust, not just in the parish, but across Jamaica. This afternoon, we mark the commencement of the Longville Meadows development, a bold strategic investment in housing, in infrastructure, and most importantly, in the dignity and the future of the Jamaican people. When completed, this development will deliver 2,064 new housing units to Jamaican families through a robust partnership between the National Housing Trust and Gore Development Limited under a modified guaranteed purchase program. What we are doing here today is turning a new page for thousands of families who will soon have a safe, secure, and modern place to call home. We are also reaffirming our government's unwavering commitment to providing affordable housing opportunities and to drive structured and sustainable development across Jamaica. Let us reflect for a moment on what this means in practical terms. 692 two-bedroom units and 1,372 one-bedroom units, carefully planned and designed to meet the growing housing demand. These homes will be supported by a full suite of critical infrastructure, proper roads with traffic signage, potable water system, a reliable electrical grid, stormwater drainage system, and a centralized sewage treatment facility. Beyond building homes, we are building an entire community. Importantly, this development will include green spaces and recreational facilities which are essential components in promoting healthy lifestyles, environmental sustainability, and social cohesion. These amenities are part of our deliberate planning to ensure that Jamaicans live not just in shelters, but in communities of pride and purpose. Boy, I would have clapped for that. I understand, sometimes these things sound too good to be true. And so you reserve the clap until we actually have the opening. Well, don't have no fear. This will be done. This is the kind of development Jamaica needs more of. Not informal, not unplanned, not underserved. To put it another way, not chaka-chaka development. But structured, regulated, and dignified development. Longville Meadows represents a forward-looking model that aligns with our vision of orderly urbanization and balanced regional development. The Modified Guaranteed Purchase Program that supports this project is a testament to the government's commitment to innovation in the housing sector. Under this modified GPP, both the NHT and Gore developments have pooled their land resources to ensure a larger, more efficient development. This level of collaboration demonstrates what we can achieve when public and private sector work together towards a shared national goal. And so I again commend Gore Homes on the partnership with the government of Jamaica and the NHT. Now, for those who may not be aware, the NHT's journey in Clarendon began in 1977 with Ashley Hall, as the chairman of the NHT pointed out. Since then, the NHT has delivered 9,000 housing solutions in this parish. Including the iconic phases of Longville, Mineralites, and Money Musk. Today's groundbreaking continues this proud tradition of delivering for the people of Clarendon. And the commitment does not stop there. Over the next decade, the NHT plans to provide an additional 9,000 housing solutions across the parish, including Longville 4, Shekels 2, and Hummingbird Meadows Phase 2. Every home we build takes a family out of uncertainty and into stability. Every home we build moves a family from poverty to prosperity. It is no accident that this groundbreaking is taking place here in Clarendon. With its strategic location between Kingston and Mandeville and its growing population and commercial activity, Clarendon is ripe for structured development. Through this project and others, we are making sure that Clarendon becomes a magnet for new investment and a model for sustainable growth. But as we grow our housing stock, we must also increase the efficiency of our public bureaucracy. Housing development does not take place in a vacuum. It requires coordination across ministries, agencies, local authorities, and regulators. And that is why we continue to modernize permitting systems, digitize land titling processes, and streamline approvals. I want you to reflect for a moment. Tell me one informal community that has been tacitly supported or promoted in the last 9 years of this administration? I give you a moment to think about it. Yesterday and the day before, as I move across Jamaica, I visited a community in St. Mary called Industry Pen. Anybody ever heard of Industry Pen? Industry Pen was a community, one would think that it is formally settled, but not really. It's a community that lands were given under Operation Pride. No titles, no road, no water, no sewage. A very large community. The NHT, I gave the directive, the NHT will have to spend somewhere in the region of about just over $3.5 billion to regularize that community. I want all Jamaicans to think on that. If you are a Jamaican that is interested in how your country is changing, what has changed in your country, and you want to see more change, sometimes you don't really reflect on the facts. And my job is to bring these facts to you. It may confront and upset your frame of thought, your perceptions. But what we know is that you can't argue with the facts. And this administration, this government that I administer on your behalf, took a decision which could largely be unpopular, that we will no longer tacitly support or promote informality. Informal, unplanned, unregulated development. So what has changed in Jamaica is that there is no longer a politician who will wink or secretly and privately support people moving onto land to settle it informally. And then 20 years after, meet me and say, Prime Minister, I live here for 14 years and I don't have any water. This government has changed chaka-chaka development. And that is good for the future of Jamaica. And for those persons who were encouraged into chaka-chaka development, who have built wonderful houses. If you go to Industry Pen and you see the houses there, I went there and I met with the Citizens Association there. The people were frustrated. They built wonderful houses. They don't have sewer. They don't have road to get there. They don't have reliable water. They can't go to the bank to realize the value in their house. This administration will have to take up now $3.5 billion to fix that problem. No doubt the politicians who did it may have had good intention, but you know what they say of where is paved with good intentions. If we really want to change Jamaica, then we must put the plans and policies in place that will make the change in the right way. So Jamaica has had 10 years, 9 years, almost 10, where the government has not promoted informal settlements. And we have supported people to get their homes. And I want to give you some further facts, because I think it is important in the public debate that we are all seized of the facts, because we are in the promising season and quite a bit will be promised, and the public may not have the full knowledge to analyze some of these promises. So, when it comes to housing, there are two sets of policies that any government will have to follow, and you can break the policies into two streams. The first stream is called demand-side policies. And essentially, demand-side policies are designed to do one thing: create effective demand. What is effective demand? Everybody here wants a house. Everybody. How many persons can actually qualify to purchase? So those persons who qualify to purchase, they are considered to be effective demanders of housing. So what government wants to do with its policies is to create effective demand. No. Demand policies, when you're creating effective demand, you also want to create equity, meaning fairness. Because some people already have the ability, the wherewithal to purchase. So where should you focus government's effort? On supporting those persons who don't have the wherewithal, the ability. So you want to make your subsidies contingent on someone's income and contingent on need. All right. So the government of Jamaica has done quite a bit to create effective demand. When we give 0% interest to a certain income band earning minimum wage or less, that is what you call a demand-side policy to increase the ability of persons to actually afford the home. That creates effective demand. So if before you had to go to the bank by itself and you were getting 7, 8, 9, 10%, now 0%, you are better able to afford your home. When we increase the co-making, how much is it now, Martin? We moved it from 7.5 million. It is now 9 million. And we do that right across the board for everybody. That creates effective demand. When we say, all right, it's not just 2 persons can co-make, now 3. What does that do? Creates more effective demand. Bring more people to effectively purchase housing. When we say, all right, we bring in the intergenerational mortgage, that adds more people to the pool of persons who can actually purchase homes. When we reduce the various fees and commissions, that adds more people to the pool. Almost every year in Parliament, I announce measures that will improve the supply side. We do have some special subsidies that are targeted based upon income and need. So you would have heard about the new social housing program, where the beneficiaries get almost an 80% subsidy on their house because they have to bring the land, and the land is usually anywhere from 20 to 15% of the value of the total house. But we also, in the NHT, give subsidy to disabled persons. We literally have what they call housing benefit orders, where in every scheme we make special provision for disabled persons, special provision for public sector workers, special provision for young people in every NHT scheme. Literally, between 10 and 20% of every scheme is reserved for special housing benefits. Then we give special housing grants to persons whose income are below a certain earning capabilities. Persons can get a grant of up to $3 million. But let's look at some other potential demand side policies. What do you feel about a policy which says, if you are a young person, we will give you, and I don't remember the category, it is from 18 to 29, I don't remember, 34 or whatever the age group is. We will give you a grant of $500,000 towards a deposit on your home. How do you, that sounds good. But think about it. What about the person now who has been working for many years, 40 years old, don't own a house? What should we do for them? What should we do about the person who is 50 now, close to retirement? Shouldn't we do something for them as well? All right, so let me ask you a question. Would we be able to give all the young persons in the society, even if they are able to afford it? So you're going to have to put in place some kind of system to determine who should get it. Is that what you're going to do? What I'm saying is that there are policies that sound good, but in their implementation, what they do is to exacerbate, make worse inequalities that exist in the society. So you might feel, boy, this is in my favor. But what about the others? So what we as a government try to do, if you can't do it for all, then you have to do it for those people who everyone in the society agrees should get it. Otherwise, you would have reduced the welfare of everyone. So when we make policy, if we're going to make any change in policy, the policy must make at least one person better without making anyone else worse off. That is the hallmark of good policy. So when a politician comes to you with a policy that sounds good, you have to ask yourself, who will be better off, but will it make any other group worse off? So I want you to think about the housing proposals that are being put to you on the demand side of the equation. Now, no matter what you do on the demand side, you cannot solve the problem if there is a shortage. So you could have promised to give everybody a $5,000, a $500,000 deposit on a house. If there is no house for them to buy, all you would have succeeded to do is to drive up the price of the house. What you have not heard is what is the policy to build more houses. The only place that you hear that policy is right here. The build more housing don't sound so sexy. But no matter what you promise to give in terms of reduction in mortgage, grants, free house, if the house is not there, you can't give it. So let's talk about building houses which is the supply side of the equation. So you notice by government, we are doing on the demand side, and we are doing it in such a way to make people better and no one worse off. So let's examine what we are doing on the supply side. Today is a perfect example of our achievements on the supply side. 2,064 units will be added to the supply of housing. We can take some of that and give to young people, old people, disabled, persons with low income. You can do all kinds of things. In fact, if you solve the supply problem, then the demand side becomes less of a constraint. And that's what we have to focus on. We have to focus on building more houses that are affordable. That's what we have to do. So if you ask me, where should we focus resources? We should focus the resources on building the houses and making them more affordable. Why have we failed as a country in terms of our spatial development? We have failed because previous governments did not want to take on the heavy lifting or could not afford to take on the heavy lifting of moving ahead of the demand for housing. So it's easy to say, see the land there, go and go settle it. And then later when we have the money, we sort out your problem. That's the description of previous policies. Today, we have insisted that the consequence of that, informality, criminality, environmental degradation, inefficiency, and lack of productivity, which that causes, we cannot continue with that in the future. So we are going to invest in building communities. But I also want to make another distinction with how we build. None of the housing that we have built have been built by any form of borrowing. None. I hear somebody say, oh, you build one house, little bit of house. We built 10,000 houses under the San Jose Accord. Debt. Borrowing. Well, let me tell you what we have built without borrowing. Over the last 9 years, from 2017 to 2025, we took out 2016. Don't want any contention over data, right? Even though most of 2016 would be this administration, but leave that out. We have started in total 29,681 units. If we included 2016, it would have been 31,540. But we take that out and give it to the other administration. On average, this means that we would have 3,298 housing starts per year in this administration, compared to the previous 9 years, which would be 4 years under the Portia Simpson-led administration and another 4.5 years or so under the Bruce Golding-led administration. So from 2008 to 2016, those two administrations would have started 18,939 housing units, or on average, 2,104 housing starts. So to put that in perspective, on average under this administration, we have 57% more housing starts than if you were to take the previous 9 years. And housing starts is the basic measure of how a country is performing. And these housing starts is not for everything. These are just housing starts under the NHT. Under the NHT. Well, let's look at how much money we spend on housing under the NHT. Over these past 9 years of your government under my administration, the NHT has spent $325.2 billion on housing, approximately $36.1 billion on average yearly, compared to the previous 9 or so years from 2008 to 2016, when the total expenditure was $181.55 billion, an average of $20.2 billion per year. Effectively, we have increased expenditure on housing by 79%. And you might see a difference in the percentages. One is inflation. Housing costs have increased significantly on average. But more than that, we are now building housing schemes to a higher standard. All our schemes have to have some form of recreational facility. We build them with proper roads and sewage systems. And generally, we have upgraded the quality of the construction. When you look at our homes compared to previously, they're really nicer homes. So let me give you a sense as to where we are with housing. So currently, the NHT has 8,353 housing units under construction. 8,353. Under contract, meaning that we are now signing off with the contractor to do the actual construction. And what does it mean? It's not just signing the contract. The contractor has to provide a construction bond and certain undertakings. They have to mobilize and say, I am ready. So that is the contract process. So look at this project. This project, before today, would have been in the pool of under contract. So that would have been in the 7,692 housing solutions that are under contract. As of today, they would have moved into under construction. So they would have moved out of the category under contract to now under construction. We have 12,207 units which are under procurement. What does procurement mean? We don't just call up a contractor and say, my friend, come and build this housing scheme for me. No. It is put out to a public tender and the contractors compete for it, and that has a process. That process can take anywhere from 6 months if it goes smoothly and there's no problem to as long as 18 months, even longer sometimes. So we have 12,207 units under procurement. So this project would have moved from procurement to contracting, and now it is going to move into the column of under construction. We have 10,598 units that are in planning and design. So some of the houses that I said we are going to build here in Clarendon in the future, they are in planning and design. So there is a sense that the NHT just gets up and builds. No. The NHT has to go first. After it has found the land, it has to do a land survey. Then we have to do a check to ensure that we can actually build on the land. We have to ensure that nobody else has any claim on the land. We have to make sure that people who are on the land, we can properly move them, relocate them. Then after you finish that, you have to ensure that you do an environmental impact to make sure that the house that you're building is not going to damage the environment. Then you have to assess that the land can actually build houses on. I have seen too many projects where, because we want the houses so bad, we say, yes, we can build. And when they break ground, it's rock. Then they come back and say, boy, we have to blast all this rock. And so what we had projected, that can't work because of the site and these issues. So we have to make sure that we do all the preparatory work, and that is what is planning and design, and that, believe me, can take years. to do the studies, the surveys, the negotiation with the landowners and people who reside on it. So we have 10,598 units in planning and design, and hopefully those will move from planning and design into procurement. And then there are about 2,000 or so units of people who just walk into the NHT and say, I want to build an own land home or a home improvement loan or something of that sort that we, on a daily basis, fund. If you put all of that together, the NHT has a portfolio of 40,650 units around there that is streamlined to go. So when you talk about supply chain, this is the supply chain for housing. So Jamaicans can rest assured that the NHT has enough housing programs to push through. Now, housing completions might be slower because it takes time to build. So what you really want to measure would be the housing starts. And this is the supply chain of housing starts. Because the houses you start are likely to be completed 99% of the time. So the commitment that I gave the people of Jamaica is that we will build 75,000 housing units. Martin is reminding me that it is 70,000. But, you know, every time I take the bike, I increase it a little bit. 70,000 housing units. The last study we have suggests that there is a shortfall in housing supply because the demand is somewhere in the region of 150,000 houses. Why so many houses? Because you have to get ahead of the demand curve so that people don't say, boy, I can't get a house, let me go and informally occupy or settle a piece of land. So you want your housing market to be ahead of people's demand for housing. And that is what we are trying to do, which is why you don't hear under our government any new informal schemes popping up. We don't promote it, but we are giving citizens the opportunity to get a house formally and legally. And that is what everybody really wants. That is what we really want. So it might not sound sexy, it might not sound, dramatic, but I have to take the time to explain to the people of Jamaica. Be careful of people who come to you to say that they have horses that can fly. So the NHT's directive is that they must build 43,000 houses out of that 70,000. And at 40,065, they are well on their way. So they need to tell me where the other 2,000 are coming from, which I hope by another couple of months you will tell me that you've met the commitment. The HAJ, they have committed to deliver 14,000 housing units. At another time, I will say where they are with that. And you would have heard about Bernard Lodge, which will deliver almost 10 to 15,000 housing solutions, and that is well underway. I don't know how many of you have gone to visit Bernard Lodge, but some beautiful houses are being built in that development. So right across Jamaica, we are doing these housing developments, and we will meet our commitment for 70,000 houses, which will significantly increase the supply of housing. So once we have the supply, then we can talk about how we're going to improve and create the demand for it. But don't talk about the demand until you sort out the supply. And that is what this administration has been doing in a strategic way. Now, for those who are new to the game, I can see some of the comments. Oh, it's just because of election. And I would remind those persons, and I see many persons here smiling, because almost every month I am breaking ground. Almost every month I am breaking ground on a housing scheme. In May, And in April, I was breaking ground in Manchester with a housing scheme. Then I went to St. James on another housing scheme. In short order, I'm going back to St. Mary. And we have others to do. Why? Because I have a supply chain of housing. Yeah. And that's what you want. You want your government not to just rush and do one scheme, because we couldn't rush and do this. You see how many steps we have to go through? So it means that your government that I administer, I have been burning the midnight oil 3, 4, 5 years before, planning and moving these schemes through the various process for today. And after today, we will still have more housing schemes to break ground for. And after the election, we'll still have more housing schemes to break ground for. Yes, I know what I say really confronts how some people feel. But it's the truth. Cannot be assailed. These are the facts. Do with them what you will. But when you have the facts, I urge you to choose Jamaica. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Holness, for your presentation. Indeed, every home we build moves a family from uncertainty to stability. And changing Jamaica requires plans, it requires policies, demand-side policies that create the environment, and supply-side policies that provides the product. And your breakdown of the NHT's housing program, over 40,000 housing solutions at different stages of planning and development. Thank you again, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, as we invite you now to get robed for the groundbreaking ceremony, and the persons participating in the ceremony, as I call your name, please step forward. So our dedicated team of ushers, thank you ushers for your service every ceremony. They will have you properly prepared. Dr. Holness, Minister Charles, Mr. Freeman, our Managing Director, Mr. Martin Miller, and our team from Gore Developments Limited, Mr. Christopher Gore, and of course, Mr. Otti as well. And I ask the members of the audience to please remain seated. The groundbreaking exercise will take place to my left. And as we direct our attention to the groundbreaking site, I want to see a big
Space, quick space.